also be able to build this stuff. We need to keep in mind that we talk about the Chinese being on the back of the moon, and we talk about them occupying the L2 with a special satellite.
This came up a little bit with General Leaf's discussion. How do you frustrate the Chinese in space? So,
yeah, they are playing the game of Go with us. They are working in reverse. They know that the West does. The average citizen on the street is not concerned that the Chinese are on the moon. They're not concerned that they are occupying an L2. The public doesn't know what an L2 is.
what is an L2?
It's a Lagrange point. It's a point of stability behind the moon.
Mm-hmm.
We have one in front between the moon and us,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have two on the sides of the moon. We've got one on the opposite side that balances us out. And those things, you can park satellites there, or you can orbit satellites around
Mm-hmm.
those points, and it gives you additional stability, low energy type of requirements. That's why those are highly desirable points. The Chinese are occupying that one, and the Russians, which if you've paid attention to what the Director of National Intelligence put out in January of 2019 in his intelligence estimate, they are seeing ever closer relations and a growing alliance between the Russians and the Chinese. So it should not be surprising to us that the Russians have actually gone out to occupy one of the Lagrange points between the Earth and the Sun. But here you go. They're there, and we are not. And you can anticipate that they'll occupy more of those Lagrange points.
Mm-hmm.
You can also anticipate that what they're doing is they're solving the problem in reverse. The goal is to settle and develop the moon, and by the time they start putting up the heavy capabilities in low Earth orbit and in geostationary and the other Earth orbits, dude, they will already have their stake in the prize that's the moon and in the cislunar environment.
So I'm trying to get an analogy for this in probably land-based. So are your Lagrange points kind of like choke points on sea lanes?
Yes.
Choke points as far as land warfare is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You occupy that spot and you control the flow of everything.
Can I add to it?
Yeah.
Also, so they're actually gravitationally neutral spots where, where gravity, and jump in if I mess this up, please, sir. But it's in essence where there are areas in the gravitational wells where they're on the edge and they basically balance out.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about what it's orbiting. It's in essence a storage space where you don't have to do a lot of the station keeping maneuvers. You have to do some, but not nearly the same types when you have a vehicle in orbit. And I don't remember which NASA mission used it, but they parked one satellite out in the Lagrange point. They left it for years, and they reactivated it to go off on a mission. So those are tremendously valuable areas to basically hold. They're not bottlenecks so much, but they can be strategically important. And they're fascinating because they're something that there is no Earth analog to. So there's nothing in Earth strategy that directly correlates to it. And that's why space is so fascinating, because it's a new domain where we have these unique phenomenologies that we can make use of, and our adversaries are already.
You talk about choke points, and that's a very interesting type of analogy to apply, but as has been pointed out, it's an imperfect analogy. Other terms that have been used to describe them are decisive points. Well, decisive in what sense? I mean, you occupy it, and the fact that you're there means that somebody else can't be. Now, there is the possibility of multiple satellites being put in or around a Lagrange point. It does have a little area value to it. It's not just one discrete spot. But we don't have any type of international agreements yet on how we can occupy a single Lagrange point with multiple flagged assets. So we really need some development there.
It's not assumed as neutral territory. Say like Antarctica, it's a neutral territory of scientific based only. Space, you can put what you want there.
Well, now,
If you occupy the space, you hold the space.
Yes. I mean,
So he who
space,
occupies the point sets the rules.
essentially, yes. And one of the things that we notice with great concern, the Chinese are very active in Antarctica. And one of the things that they're doing is they're going around putting little flags all over everything in Antarctica. And then they're drawing up the maps with all of their Mandarin names for everything. And so if anybody goes to establish something, the Chinese will say, we've already been there. We don't know what that means right now, but if you extrapolate that to what they've done with the growing islands in the middle of the Pacific island chains for the purpose of arming them, have to have some depth of concern.
On the subject of the analogy of